start. Are you gonna give me orders?
A very furious Reynor spamming start in the lobby. So Reynor wants to go. I think the people at home want to go. You want to go. Let's get this party started. Reynor versus Clem one more time. Super excited for it. Maybe a quick prediction before we hop into the game, and then you can explain your prediction. If you have to say right here, right now, who takes it? Who wins this one?
I'm going to say Reynor 3-2.
That was my prediction as well. 3-2 Reynor.
I didn't know that, but good prediction, Ratty.
Yeah, but I feel like it could also easily be wrong, right? Because Clem's DVZ lately is like, his kid is looking so good. I'm really excited. Obviously, a bit sad about the previous two best of fives we had. They were more one-sided than I anticipated. And obviously, we all want to see fun, close games. Well, I think we're going to get it in this one. Best of five. I actually have the wrong interface, by the way. I still have the previous free-throw interface, but it doesn't matter. I'll make my way through it. Let's get this party started. Clem Reynor, first map is Everdream. Here we go for the final best of five of the day. If production is ready, we are ready. Our observer is in the game, so I think that's all that matters. There we go. Well, our observer is... Okay, damn it. I can actually... Damn, because of the interface change I have, I can't follow his camera. That's kind of a disaster. But I will figure it out. Anyway, in the left bottom side, look in the main base of the young French Terran player. He is, of course, representing Team Liquid. It is Clem. It's all you, mate.
Okay, and in the top right-hand side, it's the blue Zerg player playing for Team Clash. It's Reynor.
All right, how do you feel about Everdream as the first map in this best of five over here?
I think that's a map where you look at it as a Zerg and you're like, okay, if I want to have a good start in the series, I need to win this one. It's definitely Reynor's map pick. It's like one of the two maps that are considered good for Zerg, besides Simulacrum, which I assume Clem will have vetoed. So I think this is a very important one for Reynor, and it's not a terrible map for Terran either, so... I think this is just one of those maps where if you have a special build prepared this turn, this is a nice one to show it. Or if you want to go into the late game, that's also a nice map, which I know Clem is capable of doing. So I'm expecting, I'm basically saying I'm expecting standard play, or the Terran maybe can mix it up a little bit.
Alrighty, well, we have the Reaper on the way already for Clem. Clem is also SCV scouting. Do you expect any proxies, by the way, in this series? Do you think there is a chance that there is a map where Clem maybe busts out a 2-Rex or a 3-Rex?
I think it is possible. Clem is usually not the kind of guy that proxy Rexes a lot, but there has been a week that those two had the time to prepare, right? So if you know the Overlord paths of your opponent, you can definitely get a cheeky proxy Rex victory in a best of 5 for sure. That being said, usually Clem tends to only proxy Rex if he feels like he's not going to win in the macro games, so maybe if he gets frustrated and wins or loses the first 2 games, something like that.
Okay. So what made you go for this prediction that you actually went for? You said you think that Reynor is going to take it, but over the last few weeks, or last few months, I think we can say, Clem has done surprisingly well against Reynor, right? Where last year Reynor would just never lose against anyone that wasn't Cyril. Clem has had a lot of success against Reynor this year so far. Why do you think it's going to be different this time?
I think Reynor actually is someone, because as you said, he didn't really lose to many players besides Terran last year. He has been losing to Hero Marine as well in this tournament a week or 2 ago, and I think that kind of lightened up the spark in him to get better in the TVZ matchup. I also talked with him a lot. Obviously, I'm very good friends with him, and he has been preparing very hard for this. So I just think he's generally very good in TVZ right now, and I hope to see that, because before that he kind of just played all the matchups, not matchup specific practice, and now it's a little bit more focused.
All right, and I can only imagine that Reynor got one hell of a momentum boost in this tournament, right? Eliminating Saro in the lower bracket. Like, if he wasn't motivated enough yet to shine in TSL 5, I think after that one it's like, all right, if I now have such a big result, I want to continue it as well, because what does the victory against Saro really mean if he ends up going out in the next round? Like, you want to continue then what you started.
Yeah, absolutely. one quick thing to notice already is that the Zerg took the forward base, the triangle base. This is a little bit harder to defend, but it will enable you to push the creep forward a little bit smoother because the Hellions can't really rotate towards the bottom to cancel the creep spread there. So this is usually the second choice for Zerg players, but still a completely fine choice if your usual third base gets blocked up.
Do you think Terran players are a little more tempted to be more adventurous with their Hellions and feeling that the drones are going to be a bit more exposed than it would normally be? Or will you say, like, no, it's actually more important to just keep them alive and keep that creep somewhat under control?
I think if you see an opening where the queens are out of position, you dive in for the drones, especially with the space setup. But usually, the way he does it, I think he should just keep them safe, especially with the opening that he went for, because he went for an opening with the just 6 Hellions and a Viking. So if he actually loses these units, since he also went for a triple CC, he actually will have nothing to defend. He doesn't even have a wall yet, which is why we see 2 Hellions that just need to stay at home, ready for a run by.
Right, well, so far it's a very peaceful game. I mean, other than this Viking hunting for a couple of overlords in the middle of the map, nothing has really happened yet. But obviously, if Clem's production really starts kicking in, he's going to start being a little more adventurous and willing to take a few more risks. I don't think Reynor really has any idea where these Reapers and Hellions are at this point. He's about to find them, as he's already going up to 4 bases. Double Evo, of course, down as well. Don't have Baneling speed yet, but okay, he fires it up right as I bring it up. So Reynor so far looking very clean, and I think that this is a start that the Zerg has to be quite happy with.
Yeah, and I think this is also exactly the start that the viewers should be quite happy with, because this is just gonna go into, you know, both players did what they prepared for. This is exactly what they expected, and now it's just about who finds the good moves in the upcoming minutes. Like, how can Clem trade with his first 2 medics? Will he bring the tanks forward? That kind of stuff. Can he put pressure on Reynor's fourth base? Can he contain the creep spread? So, super standard game. I love it, honestly.
Yeah, it promises a lot of good, especially if we think back of some of the games they've had already earlier this year. As obviously the unit count is going to go up at this point. Reynor feels confident enough to make his first move with Zerglings in the middle of the map, but he actually gets greeted by these Hellions and the Reaper. So a few links did go down. Clem is moving off, and this is obviously the only part of the map where we don't really have that creep that far forward yet. There are 6 Banelings on the map at the moment. 6 more Banelings are morphing. These queens are a little adventurous. Tank is already in a good spot. Reynor does not second guess himself. He just goes for it immediately. And it seems like the Banelings will get connections with a couple of those leftover Marines. But one tank is still alive, actually. Okay, well, I think in the end, it's good enough for Reynor. But Reynor needs to start spending his money because he's sitting on quite a few minerals.
No, I think that was a really nice defense by Reynor. He noticed that the Hellions were not quite there yet. It's always a little bit awkward if your Zerglings get caught in the middle of the map, the ones that you prepared to have a run-by with, because then the Hellions can join up, since the Terran knows that there's not going to be any run-bys that they need to defend. And then if those 6 Hellions are also with a push, usually it ends up being very hard to trade. So you jump on this opportunity right away. Yeah. The second tank wasn't ready yet, and it ended up being a really good trade for him, I think.
Yep, I love how decisive he was, right? It's very easy to turn around when you're like, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't do it because it's right off creep. Maybe I should wait for a few more Banelings, but Reynor did not hesitate for a second. He just went for it immediately. And after that fight, immediately feels confident enough as well to take this 5th base. Does end up losing another queen in the center here. Clem with a very cheeky Baneling snipe. He just gets one of them and then he gets out of there. We see Drilling Claws on the way. Did you see, I guess, at a game yesterday of Clem where he ended up after like opening up traditionally, right, with a lot of bio units, he went 5 factory Widow Mine. He was building 9 mines at a time. It was against Bly, and apparently, like, there wasn't. No, our observer Mapu actually asked, like, was that on purpose? Clem is like, oh yeah, 9 mines. It's like pretty good. We're like, what? Not sure if we're gonna see that this game though.
Yeah, I doubt we're gonna see it here, but Reynor obviously knows that Clem likes the Widow Mines, so he actually prepared something special, which is, even though he started with a Muda, which forces the Terran to go into mines, he only got a couple and went to very quick Hive plus Lurker then. So he went into the Hydras, and they're all gonna be pretty much turned into Lurkers.
No missing turret here, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, kind of surprising. Big. Surprising to not see any units in position. 6-7 STVs going down. That's a nice little pickoff. And obviously, I don't think he's under that much pressure in the center of the map. I love the Lurker then. It's quite cool. We've seen him use it in the past in this matchup. It obviously takes a little while before this really kicks in. But so far, he's not under any immediate pressure. and it seems like he is at least going to be able to get his first lurkers out on the map, as two of his Hydras are already morphing into lurkers. And Clem is busy dealing with these Mutas, and that's obviously what Reynor wants, right? Reynor just wants to buy some time to get way more lurkers out. Yeah,
exactly. And the very important part of this is also that Clem doesn't expect lurkers right now. There's no one that goes Link Bang Muta into lurker timing, but that's the surprise factor of the lurkers. And now he finally scans and he sees the lurkers for the first time, and now I wonder, because he has a Thor on the way and more Widow Mines, will he start tank production again? Because you need either tanks or Liberators to deal with the ranged lurkers.
That was an insane Widowmine hit on a ridiculous amount of Banelings, because this could have been very bad for Clem. In the end, it's still quite bad. The SCVs are trapped, the SCVs are going around Banelings, 19 SCVs go down. At the same time, we've got Mutalisk harassing at 9 o'clock, and all of this is happening while Reynor is squeezing out a ridiculous amount of lurkers, and he's getting the important upgrades for the lurkers as well. We already have 8 lurkers on the map. Clan scans. Do you think there's potential for drops, maybe? Because if I look at the main base of Reynor, he doesn't have that much there.
Yeah, I think so. He also knows that there's only a very little Muta count. So, and they're on the other side of the map harassing all the time. But I think for now he is occupied with just defending Reynor's constant aggression. And he's just trying to push back Reynor for now. Reynor actually went for triple evolution chamber. Extremely comfortable right now on 99 drones as well. So as long as Reynor trades efficiently, which you should be able to do with lurkers, seems to be a very good position for him.
Big run by as well, is going to be able to pick off quite a few SCVs, but does he have enough in the center? The lurkers so far pushing this army back. I really like where this is going for Reynor, especially because of that insane drone count that you mentioned. Clem has been losing way more workers. This Reynor has not lost a single drone yet in this game, Lambo. That's remarkable. A 11-minute TVZ of Clem, not one drone went down.
Yeah, that's insane. Clem now trying to jump on the lurkers, catching at least one of them out in the open, but this is the strength of the lurker. If there are not that many tanks, the Terran needs to push very slowly, so missing that army supply, because Reynor's army supply, due to the low drone high drone count, is obviously very low, but the Terran can't just stim forward into the lurkers. So even though he has a high drone count, since he has the lurkers, he can still go for those Reynor Zergling run dice, as we see here.
Yep, and we have a couple of Lings in natural as well. They're well upgraded Zerglings. At the same time, Reynor is moving forward. I'm not sure if it's necessary, but these lurker shots are massive. Does he have enough, though? It seems like the answer is yes. Clem is really running out of steam at this point. There are no HP left on most of these Marines and Marauders. A couple of them barely survive. But you look at how rich Reynor is, the bank that he has, the economic damage that he's dealing. GG gets called. Reynor wins the first game. And I just want to emphasize one more time, without losing a single drone. He killed 44 SCVs. He lost 0 drones. That's not something I've seen in a Clem TVZ in a very long time.
Yeah, that's pretty sick, honestly. I mean, Clem, even though he didn't go for any of the early game harassment units like Liberators or Banshees, he obviously had a nice setup himself into the mid game, and to just he couldn't touch Reynor's economy. Took one bad trade with the first tank, and then from then on out it was all Reynor pretty much.
Yep, I love the strategy indeed, like going Mutas and then suddenly lurkers. For the first time that Clem actually saw this, Clem never saw the main base, by the way. Like, I just checked his vision as well in the end of the game. Clem never once actually entered the main base of Reynor. He never scanned it either. The first time he saw the lurkers was when Reynor was sitting on 5 bases, and the lurkers were already burrowed there. That was literally the very first time Clem had any idea of what Reynor was actually doing in this game. What a sick game for Reynor. That's gotta feel good to start the best of 5 off like that.
Yeah, I think it's really cool, specifically also to do it with your own style. I actually have never seen this before played out. I know that he told me about it, but just seeing how beautifully it played out was really nice to see.
All right, hypothetically speaking, Reynor does the exact same thing in game 2, and you are Clem's coach. What would you tell Clem?
I think just to harass a little bit more, even though there's mutas, because throughout with the harassment you also spot what your opponent is up to exactly, and then you can either start tank production earlier or liberator production, because I do believe you need one of the two, unless you have ghost, which is even harder to get to. Mm-hmm. So I think just splitting up his army a little bit more, and I mean the map is also going to be better for him. So I would tell him to not worry too much about it. This was the best Zerg map in the remaining 5 maps that they're going to play.
Second map is going to be played on Nightshade. I'll let you talk about Nightshade because I know every Zerg loves to talk about Nightshade right now in this matchup. But yeah, I do feel that even if there are mutas out on the map, and even if Reynor is being Reynor and he's annoying with his run-bys, it should always be possible for somebody who's as good as Clem to just one time pick up 8 Marines, send it via the top side of the map, put those Marines into the main base. So A, you have some vision of his main finally, and B, then you force Reynor to at least turn around once, right? Because I felt like this was a one-way highway where Reynor just sent everything towards the other side of the map, and he never really had to properly defend. He only defended the center, and where that first push came at the fort base, but there were never any units of Clem behind the main army of Reynor. And I think that was just a bit too comfortable for Reynor to play from.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I mean, it also relieves his defense a lot because the Zerg needs to probably bring back the mutas and he has less to work with. He still needs to defend the center, obviously, because the tanks are in a super good position. So yeah, I think some counterattacks are good, but now we're going into an entirely new game on a different map that is much shorter than Everdream.
Where you can just basically sit in the center of the map and keep pushing, and then you're going to be fine as Terran.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it as much as Reynor does, but
okay,
that is how Terrans play it.
All right, guys, here we go. We are ready to hop into game 2 of our final best of 5 of the day. In the left top side, we look at the main base of the man who had a very unfortunate game 1. It is Clem.
And in the bottom right, it's his opponent. He's up 1-0. It's a blue Zerg from Italy. It's Reynor.
Do you think Reynor is going to take the triangle expand like you like to do, or will he just take the expand on the left side of his main base?
It probably depends on if Clem SCV scouts or not. I know Elaser likes to take the same base as I do. Mm-hmm. I think Reynor still likes the normal one, the conventional third base, a little bit more.
Yeah.
Although I haven't talked about him. About this specifically too much. I think the forward base just allows you to spread creep more towards the middle of the map, which is in the end what is important, because even if you take this first, like the Terran is still gonna push towards this base rather than the bottom, which in that case is gonna be your fourth base. So all that really matters on this map is to get creep towards the middle of the map and then defend that spot, as you talked about earlier, because once Terran sets up there, it's very, very hard to break it.
You expect Clem to play drilling claws as well, or do you think that tanks is pretty much the way to go on Nightshade?
I mean, I think if he wants to Adrex on one map, it is this one with tanks, but I know he can also play the Widowmine style on this map. Also, we already see him opening up with gas first, so there's a possibility for a cheeky maybe Hellbat follow-up or something like that. So excited to see what Clem's follow-up is going to be.
It'd be cool actually to see something a bit surprising, because obviously Reynor knows as well that Clem is going to be comfortable to just play a very normal macro game on this map. So maybe if Clem opens up a bit more aggressive than you normally expect, it could technically catch Reynor off guard as well. I gotta say, last game Reynor's scouting was good though, right? Overlord did go into the main base, did confirm what was actually happening. Where is that drone go? Just checking.
It's just hiding for if the Reaper comes.
Oh, oh my goodness, I love it. That's well done, and he is going to take that forward base. So maybe you were onto something, Lambo. You and Elaser just ahead of the meta as always.
To be fair, I think he was forced to take it. I'm not sure if he actually agrees with my point of view there. It's because Clem is blocking the other third base.
He does have the SCV there.
Yeah,
that is true.
So, but yeah, Reynor actually did not go for the Overlord behind the natural, which is usually what he likes to do, but that's because he knows that Clem knows that he likes that Overlord spot. So he's mind gaming a little bit here with the Overlord, and he's putting it on the ledge where usually you wouldn't put it. And because he went there very slowly, he didn't see the CC timing, and unless he realizes the Reaper is later, he won't know that his Overlord actually could just scout for completely free, because again, with gas first, the Terran doesn't actually have a Marine out. So if the Overlord went there right away, you could check if there's a Marine in production, you can see the starport, if there's an add-on on the barracks, that kind of stuff.
Minor adjustment by Clem, but he's actually going for that second Reaper. So it seems like Clem really plans on being super annoying here, right? Fighting queens and actually soaking up some shots with these Reapers. Kind of cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's going to go for an 8 Hellion build here. He's not going to stop with just the 6 and possibly a double Liberator, I think. Something that the Koreans like to do a lot, also Special likes to do it in TVZ. And maybe he wants to abuse the fact that the queens Need to go a little bit more forward to defend the base.
That's a lot of Zerglings that Reynor is producing right now, 35 drones, and that's a relatively early bailing nest as well, unless I'm mistaken. I have the feeling that Reynor wants to be cheeky this game.
He could be. He could be banking on the fact that that Clem is very often over-aggressive with his Hellions. Yeah. And then if you get this around, you can go for a counter-link Bane on him. Going for a straight-up link Bane on him is a little bit weird, so I think he's first gonna see if he can catch all the Hellions, and if not, I think he's just gonna drone up and have it as a defensive option, the Bane nest.
Well, he's sneaking those Zerglings to the other side of the map, as you can see in the mini-map as well. So maybe at first just goes for a little run by, surrounds two Hellions immediately right at the get-go. Could potentially get a cancel on this command center. I know that Clem is going to try to save it now. The Hellions are back in time. Oh, the jukes! I love it. That's amazing. Liberator harass as well, by the way, on the other side of the map. Seems like Reynor was busy dealing with that, and that's why the Zerglings went down in the end. So Clem is Liberator already getting more drones than he got in the entirety of Everdream.
Absolutely. Plus, Reynor actually morphed some Banelings because he was expecting Clem to maybe commit once he sees the run by. So there is a lot of money that Reynor spent into stuff that is not drones. At the same time, of course, a late return command center by Clem. So it's not like this is extremely good for him, but overall I would say maybe slight favor towards the time. Very slight favor.
Alright, well, Reynor is going to try to re-establish that creep there. Trying to get up the high ground, of course. That is going to be a very important spot later on. Clem, I have the feeling that he would like a little more than he's gotten so far. Obviously, there was some lost mining time as well because of the Liberator. Drones were not mining for some time. And all these little victories, they do start adding up.
Yep, and the creep spread is not as far as it usually is when you take this base. So it's because with the Liberator defense and with looking at the Zerglings, he was occupied somewhere else, so there's some indirect damage to creep as well, without directly denying it with the aliens.
Double Evo goes down for Reynor as he fires up Baneling speed too, so all of this is very standard. Do you think we'll see a Spire, or...?
I think it's unlikely that we're gonna see a Spire. I think it's very scary to go Muta on this map. If you get Aatraxed, it seems like a map where you can't afford to counterattack with the Mutas.
I'm actually wowing a little bit at the fact that Reynor is now also taking 3 o'clock rather than trying to establish the bottom side. So Reynor is really focusing on making his way up towards the right top. It's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, as I said before, the Terran is just going to push towards the middle of the map. So I think usually we actually take both bases at the same time, the top one and the bottom one, because usually we play Ling Bane purely on this map. Very aggressive here by Clem.
There's a big run by as well, potentially on the top side of the map. These Lings are going to be annoying. Clem left the tank behind, but the Marines are blocking the depots, which means that these Zerglings get in. And I feel like this kind of stuff is so nice. At the same time, Reynor wanted to fight in the middle of the map, but he realized he didn't have Baneling speed yet, so he backed off immediately. But these Lings have been super successful. Reynor, in his traditional way, is getting some sick damage done.
And Clem, because he was focused on the front, just put the SCVs in a bad position to attack, and he's actually losing his entire mineral line as a natural.
What? Just like that? Just like that? One run by? Wow, Clem obviously like not paying attention to the fight in the middle of the map as well, losing the tank there, losing a whole bunch of Marines. That is old school Reynor if I've ever seen it. That's how a lot of his TVZs used, or ZVTs rather, used to go. But this kind of stuff, you don't see it very often anymore, especially not when he plays against Clem. Damn, I'm shocked.
Yeah, I mean, Reynor, he just saw that the Hellions came with the push, so he knew at the back at least there would be no Hellions, so there's no real risk with running in the Zerglings. And he just found the perfect timing. There were no reinforcements there yet, there was an exposed tank. Clem didn't look for a second. And then afterwards, instead of pulling all his SCVs back to the main base and clearing it up, he tried to just win the fight in the middle and focus his attention there, and it just didn't work out.
No, there were like only 3 or 4 SCVs fighting. The Lynx actually had the bigger concave. They were not surrounded at all, so that's obviously a dream fight for the Zerglings against SCVs. Wow, Clem is going to feel very frustrated about that game. I think the first one is like, okay, maybe need to clean up my play a little bit, should have scouted better, maybe could have been a bit more aggressive, but it's all good, let's move on. That was Everdream. To lose like this on Nightshade and now fall 0-2 into this series, I mean, Clem can be a little emotional as well, so I hope that he can keep his head cool, because not the series I expected so far.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think he's got to be a little bit mad about this one for sure, because there's only this one counter-attack path where this can happen, and he even had still Reapers left over from the early game, so he could have just put the Reapers there to spot for it. I mean, oversights like this can cost the game very, very quickly.
There's a good chance that maybe he actually saw it in time, but then he couldn't raise the depot because there were Marines standing on top of the lower depot. So then obviously you have to move your slow Marines off the depot, but it takes a little while. Zerglings are way faster than Marines there. And it wasn't even like an insane amount of Zerglings. Like, yeah, it was a very healthy amount, right? An annoying amount, but that is not a group of Lings that normally run into the natural and end the game immediately.
Oh, absolutely. They didn't even have 1-1 yet. This is usually what you go for if you go Evos before Lair, but he went early baning speed. Like, those were 0-0 Zerglings that just destroyed him.
We had the lobby up, but I believe the wrong lobby was hosted. I think the next map is going to be Zen. I feel like Zen is a map where I've seen Clem play some phenomenal TVZ. There's obviously a lot of amazing spots for tank on this map. There's a lot of different pushes you can make as well. Apply pressure into the natural, but you can also apply weird pressure into the main base of the Zerg by putting tanks on the side. I just hope we get a long game, man. Like, we've had a few too many short games today.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, we know those two can bring us those long games, so I hope they're gonna clean up their early game, early mid game specifically for Clem a little bit, and I think there is definitely some potential here still. Yeah,
I'm still a believer as well, but rough day so far for the Team Liquid players. I do think, did you see Mana against Innovation by any chance?
I watched one of the games,
okay.
But yeah, not the entire series.
I didn't think Mana played poor or something. It's just that Inno is obviously one hell of a player, but it's always unfortunate to see one of the Liquid guys go because they started off so strong in this tournament. All of them were just making their way through the upper bracket, besides Harston, that is. But then, Mana fell last week. It's like, okay, it could happen. Clem fell to the lower bracket as well, but he lost to a Liquid player. But not today. It's not the day so far of the Liquid boys. Let's see if Clem can turn it around. We have seen a couple of reverse sweeps. He did it against Serral, right? Like, Clem did it against Serral in the Red Bull tournament. So, hey, if you can reverse sweep Serral, you should be capable of doing it against Reynor too. You're not a believer.
I mean, I do believe in my boy Reynor, but I think there's still definitely some chance that we can go to game 5.
All right, well, guys, here we go. Zen is going to be our next map. It's do or die at this point for this man, spawning in the right top side of Zen, representing Team Liquid. It is Clem.
And in the bottom left-hand side, it's the blue Zerg player playing for Team Clash. He's up 2-0. Can he finish his opponent? It's Reynor.
But this was an even better start than Reynor could have dreamed of, right? In game 1, you don't lose a single drone. Like, that's a stunning fact, especially because it was a proper game. Like, obviously, you'll win games sometimes against people who are as good as Clem if something goes terribly wrong for Clem early on and it's a 6 or 7 minute game. But in a game where you're basically maxed out to not lose a single drone once, that feels fantastic, I think. And then game 2, you just win it with a little Zergling run by. Like, he's had a lot of those victories in his life, but we've seen the tweets lately, right, of Reynor. He's struggling a little bit in this matchup. He's been unhappy with the Widow Mites, forgot how to play against them, stuff like that. This has got to feel amazing. Like, 2 games in, you're up 2-0, and it feels like you you've never really been in any real trouble in this series so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And he also didn't show any early game shenanigans yet, just pretty clean play. He did show his lurker style in the first game, but as long as he just keeps playing solid in the early game, I think he's gonna feel good about himself.
Now, Zen, how do you feel about this in general? I think a lot of Zerg players would say that it's all right for Terran, but I think there is a lot of good stuff about this map for Zerg as well too, no?
Yeah, I think this is one of the maps where you can push the creep very comfortably. Mm-hmm. And that's really the only thing, but it's a very big thing about TVZ.
Okay.
That's the one thing that's really good about this map. And I mean, it's also open and you can expand into two different sides. So sometimes you can sacrifice your bases on one side, do a massive counter-attack and expand towards the other. That's usually also good for Zerg. But then there are a lot of positions that are really annoying for Tyrant. And there's some dead airspace behind your natural, like that kind of stuff is relatively bad for Zerg.
Would you say you're like almost forced to play Mudas on this map as a Zerg player, or do you think like, nah, that's not really true even though they're nice?
No, I think you can also just play Ling Bane, but I do believe that Muda is probably the best way to play this map. Not the only one though.
Okay. Well, we've got a little skirmish on here, obviously. Whoa, careful with the Reaper, Clem. Oh my goodness, I was very worried there, because obviously losing the Reaper stings, but especially with the way that this best of 5 has gone so far, I think every Terran player out there gets tilted. If they lose the Reaper to slow Zerglings, that's just the tilt moment, because these guys know that's not supposed to happen. And if you're already down 0-2 losing the Reaper, I'm like, oh my goodness, that can really put him in a negative downward spiral, but fortunately for Clem, he barely saved it.
Yeah, I think it's probably the same for the Zerg if you lose the first creep tumor to the Reaper.
Yeah. It's like the life tilt.
No, absolutely. Like if I have a bad day on the ladder and I lose my first tumor, you bet your everything that I'm gonna leave that game immediately.
Yeah, I think we all have these things as well. I think like as a Protoss myself, if I lose more than one probe to a Reaper, I'm like, yeah, that's it. The game is over.
Yeah.
I'm like, is it really over there, Rodden? I'm like, yes, you can't win. Okay, I'm economically behind. I feel frustrated at this point. All right, we're going to have Cloak Banshees, by the way, coming out of Clem. And this is obviously a sweet map for some Banshee play as well. We'll see if he can keep them alive. Clem has been pretty patient, I think, lately with his Banshees. Often likes to wait for 2 before he really commits and trying to kill as many drones. Once again, a good scout here by Reynor. Spots the starport, sees the tech lab researching. It could, of course, be a fake, but I don't think that Reynor is going to see this as a fake.
Yeah. He's also gonna see the timing of that there's no unit yet, so there's no way he would have faked with a Viking or a Medevac because they build faster. So yeah, he knows it's most likely a Banshee. And this is just a very safe opening on a very short map, so Clem would have been safe against any road shenanigans, which are very common on Zen specifically. And I mean, even though it's just a safe opening, it's also just solid going into a macro game.
Well, Reynor is just running up. He's obviously getting his lair. I'm expecting a Spore Crawler to go down in every single base, and there we have it. The Queens are actually quite far out, so that means that maybe there's some potential for this first Banshee, right? Because the Spore Crawler's maybe like 1 or 2 seconds late. Obviously, Clem doesn't have the vision that we have, so he's a bit indecisive. He could activate Cloak here, but he spots the Spore Crawler, and he's like, nah, I don't want to take any damage on my Banshee yet. At the same time, he was looking for an opening with the Hellions, but that too will get deflected by Reynor. Reynor is bulletproof so far.
Yeah, absolutely solid play. Also very conservative by Clem there to not... Like, he respects his opponent too much to just dive into the mineral line there, even to check for the Spore, because you wanna, as you said, keep the Banshee healthy for when there's 2, because then they can start one-shotting drones, dart in and out, and that's very scary.
This is also an important moment for Reynor, of course, to get his Queens in the right position, and they are. There is even an Overseer to greet these Banshees. So far, so good for Reynor. Reynor wants to get a surround on the Hellions. That's a little bit ambitious, but he's done so much damage to these Banshees already. That's going to be feeling really good if you're Reynor, because now you know that Clem can't keep the double Banshee around forever. The Overseer this time, though, is a bit out of position. Of course, there is a Spore, but only with a single Queen. I feel like this is Clem's moment to find a little bit of economic damage. Good save there on that drone. Well done by Reynor.
Yeah, they're both playing very, very clean. I think the first victory that we've seen in a long time is that we actually managed to get the Zerglings without losing a single Harry, and that has to feel good, because if you see that many Zerglings, Reynor made those before he was at 66 drones.
I think he's gonna get a cancel here, mate. Oh, he drops a grenade as well. Yes, well done. Does not get the drone. But that, if you talk about a little victory of getting the Zerglings, that must feel like a much bigger victory for Clem.
Yeah, for sure. In the end, delaying the 4th base of Zerg, if they go for early Muda, is actually not that big, because they need to stay on 66 drones for a while to be safe. But even just the 75 minerals that you get from the cancel is super nice. And at the same time, he occupied the Queens there. There's a...
Oh, Reynor surround! Oh my goodness, Reynor gets a full surround on all these Hellions. The Reaper goes down as well. Well, that's sweet for Reynor that he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. Now, of course, we have Marines already out on the map, and +1 is almost done. Stim is done, but this is still so nice, because this will also allow Reynor to get a little more adventurous with his counterattacks again. Even though he's sending 4 Mutas right now as a counterattack, but there's no missile turret on the right side. These Mutas are going to be annoying too.
Yeah, absolutely, but he doesn't have the Mutas at home this time, and there's not that much creep ahead of this base, and Baning Speed isn't done yet, because he wanted to get the Mutas before the Baning Speed. So, as long as Clem defends decently and he kills his base, then he would be in a good position.
Well, Clem is not killing that base yet, actually. He's just running away. The tanks are dealing some friendly fire as well on the Marines. I mean, a few Marines do survive, but Clem is losing 12 SCVs at home against 4. Well, it's now 6 or 7 mutas, but it was 4 mutas at first. That is a ridiculous amount of damage, I think, for such a small muta count.
Yeah, and I mean, Reynor he also feels that he can drone up now because he took a decent engagement there with the tank friendly fire. He sees also that there are a lot of Marines are still left at home, so now he comes back with the mutas, trying to catch a tank maybe.
This feels disastrous for Clem, if you ask me. And Clem is going to try to get a good trade in. This is obviously a really nice position for these Marines and the tank to fight, but in the end he is going to lose his tank, loses a few Marines too. I mean, that was obviously a good trade for Clem, but I feel Clem needs a little more than that, man. He's so far behind economically. Reynor's going up to 85 drones. The 1-1 upgrades are going to kick in. That armory of Clem fell a little late, so 2-2 hasn't even started yet. I'm starting to get super worried for the Frenchman here.
Yeah, the armory was definitely too late, and he's floating 800 gas right now. And it's just not as clean as we usually see Clem play in the TVZs. Reynor with these little counterattacks is just really managing to bring Clem out of his rhythm.
Yeah. Tiny baning connection there as well. Now this is obviously a potential good spot for Clem, but he's not paying attention. Again, loses a few more Marines. This is just not the Clem that I have seen play TVZ lately, where he looks amazing and stunning. At this point, the tank... Oh, okay, at least the tank survives as well with like 1 HP, but it's still going to fall in the end. Clem is in so much trouble, like I said. It's not being clean. His Marines are super overstimmed at this point, but he can't pick it up because all the mutas are still around as well. Reynor is truly dictating this game at this point. Feels confident enough to start high, get a lurk, and then on top of all of this... I mean, Clem needs a victory, but I have no idea where he's supposed to get his victory.
Yeah, I'm not sure either anymore. Reynor at this point has more economy and more units here. The only thing that's going for Clem is that he managed to keep this space here completely free of creep because he kept attacking here. So maybe he can take good trades with the Widow Mines.
Okay, well, that's the start, right? That was a shot that I think you'd sign for if you're a Terran player. But Clem really cannot make any mistakes anymore. The micro this game just felt a bit off. I guess he wasn't paying attention when he needed to the most. But normally we see him get value out of every single Marine there is. And this time just a few banelings were actually already good enough for Reynor to just buy all the time. Look at these mutas, by the way, intercepting the double drop. Sure, Reynor is absolutely on fire, but things are just going from bad to worse here for Clem. One muta does go down in the end to that Widow Mine. Unreal game senses, though, by Reynor there, right?
Yeah, I mean, that must feel terrible for the Terran, because the Zerg had no way of knowing these medevacs fly out here. And the mutas just show up. Clem isn't looking, and one medevac dies before unloading. Now he sees the fact that there are lurkers. So he's going into tank production and an extra factory at this point. So he's going to try to come back with a very slow, methodical tank play.
Oh, come on. The Widow Mines only kill like 3 or 4 Zerglings. Kill the fire units as well. That's so many Banelings. Reynor is looking for a lot of economic damage. Will most likely get it too, as 14 SCVs have already gone down. And sure, Reynor is going to lose all the Lings and Banes in the end. But 22 SCVs. Reynor is going to be more than happy. Lambo, he's so excited. He went up to 99 drones. He's attacking with Lurkers. And he even managed to squeeze out a Swarm Host.
Yep. The VM Swarm Host.
Look at this little Swarm Host in the middle of the map. Swarm Host is going to be sick.
Let's see what he can do.
It's going to get... Probably with how things are going for Reynor, he's going to get 5 SCVs. Pop the Locust. I don't even care about the fights anymore. I just want to see what the Swarm Host is up to.
Clem sees it as well.
I mean, Clem is trying to make magic happen in the middle of the map, but the Banshees get taken out too. Clem finds his base at the bottom side, but all he has left is a bunch of Marines. He does finally get a couple of drones. Seems like Reynor is going to deal with this with a few units yet left over. Reynor even established a 6th base, by the way, during all of this. And he's going to try to run into the natural. Clem knows that he just cannot deal with this. As Clem tried to drop, but there was another Ling Bane counterattack. Reynor takes a super decisive 3-0 victory over Clem. We've seen these two duke it out, going back and forth. Clem looked fantastic in some of the series against Reynor. Today, it was all your boy Reynor.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I couldn't see too many mistakes in Reynor's play today at all. And even if you just make a couple of mistakes as Clem, he can make you look really bad. This also sets us up, by the way, for a really exciting next round, which is going to be Reynor against Innovation. And those two actually played earlier today in some Alpha X tournament where Reynor 3-0'd Innovation, I think. So let's see if Innovation is going to try his hardest there to maybe get a little bit of revenge there tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll talk about it soon as we go over the bracket as well. I'm just kind of thinking of the best of 5 we just saw. I expected a lot of things. I did kind of had the feeling that Reynor was going to take it today, but I was with you. I was like 3-2. It's going to be close. It's going to be a bloodbath. Clem is going to look amazing as he has done so often lately. It just really felt that Clem never got going in this entire best of 5, right? I don't feel there was a single moment in any game where I was like, things are starting to look good for Clem. Like, no, it felt nothing went his way.
We stand as one. Are you